Hello everyone, welcome to this little workshop that we have today. My name is Savi and today we're going to work on feminizing, masculinizing, and doing pretty much anything that we can with the voice, preferably to get to the goal voice that you have in mind. So, alright, first and foremost, please keep your mics muted. You will have the opportunity to move up at stage at some point, as I will have two people who want to work on masculinizing their voices and two people who want to work on feminizing their voices. That being said, I need to do a little bit of a talk on voice and how it works. And also, most importantly, the safety regarding how we use the voice and how do we practice in the proper manner. So first of all, what you have to know is that the voice is like any other muscle, and it's paramount that we do some vocal warm-up. You know, if you're going to do something strenuous, some voice work that will have some muscles moving, well, with like any muscle, you're going to want to warm it up. For the voice, it's a bit tricky. You don't exactly see the muscle. Maybe some of you don't even know that it's a muscle. It's kind of like a mixture of cartilage and muscles and ligaments. But that aside, what you want to do is do some vocal warm-ups. Some of these vocal warm-ups are called SOVTE, and that stands for semi-occluded vocal tract exercise. Now that's a mouthful. All you need to know is that what we do is we create a pressure at the level of our mouth so that the vocal folds can vibrate in a pressureless environment. Now, that might sound really weird, but basically, if you think about voice in a certain way, right, like you have your lungs, and your lungs, they blow air, and thanks to that air you can create a voiced sound, right? But in the case here of here in the case of warming up your voice, right, the air always only comes from the lungs. Hence why we want to create that counter pressure at the level of the mouth so that we can kind of have a pressure above and below, thus allowing the vocal folds to vibrate easily without any stress or strain. All right? We'll be doing some of those in a minute. Of course, the voice also needs, or before doing any voice work, you do want to hydrate yourself. Get yourself a bottle of water or a glass of water, whatever you prefer, and have a sip at it. The water is really important because the vocal folds have to vibrate really quickly, several hundred times per second sometimes, to create a sound, right? And so since they vibrate against each other really quickly, you really want them to stay hydrated. That hydration will allow them to work the best, right? And that's also because there's kind of like a mucus at the surface. And no, that mucus is not gross. It's just part of our body. And that mucus has to be there. And so if your voice is really dry, the mucus might be more thick or not present at all, which means that they will have to vibrate really quickly, but they're going to be really dry. And you can already imagine that something that vibrates really quickly and is dry is not going to go well for you, especially since it's a part of your body. Demonstration on how you can drink water. You're welcome. Now, that being said, you also want to be careful not to practice after drinking alcohol or coffee. And you also want to avoid practicing your voice if you are taking some medication. Now, I'm not saying you should stop taking the medication. Some of you a medication like spironolactone, which is known to be a bit drying, not specifically to the voice, but to the body in general. Some antihistamines can also do that. For example, I'm really allergic. I get like hay fever. I'm not going to stop taking it, right? But I do know that I do take some medication that can be drying to the voice, and I kind of try to work around it, not practice directly after doing so, and making sure to stay hydrated plenty to counteract that effect. All right. Of course, that doesn't mean you have to stop drinking or stop drinking coffee or anything of the likes, right? But all you have to know is that try to work knowing that you will have to warm up your voice, properly hydrate, and try to avoid behaviors that can dry out your voice if possible. Okay? Do not endanger yourself stopping. Don't stop taking medication. Okay? Now, with that being said, I'm going to talk a little bit about the voice and how it works. So very simply put, and I'm going to go really surface level here so that some of you that might be new to these workshops kind of have a basic understanding of what this is all about. So let's take a look. You already have seen this slide for a little bit, and this is the power source filter model. Now, this is one way to understand how voice works, but it's cutting down the voice into three main parts. Those parts are the power, which is the air from your lungs. You can't speak without breathing out air. Well, you can also speak by breathing in air, but that sounds really weird, and most people don't do that, so don't you worry, you're going to be fine. So that's pretty easy to do. You blow air up to that tube, which we call the trachea, and that moves up to behind the Adam's apple. That's your larynx here, right behind the Adam's apple. And you will find the vocal folds. They're like little flaps of flesh that close and open really quickly, 100 times per second, depending on what pitch you do with your voice. And so they're going to use the air that comes from below to vibrate and create what we call the source sound. And then, well, the sound will have to move around, bounce around, resonate and reverberate in the space, which is the filter. We also call this space the vocal tract because it's a series of tube that goes from the larynx up to the nose and to the mouth. And so this is the most important part when it comes to modifying the gender perception of someone's voice. Get a really big filter and you get a really dark voice. Get a really small filter and you get a really feminine voice. And that's pretty much all you need to know about this. Our goal will be mostly to modify the filter size. But I do need to talk about something more. When it comes to modifying the voice, we want to think about it in terms of, okay, what really differentiates a masculine voice from a feminine voice? Well, what mostly changes the voice, regardless of like social expectation or, like we can socialize in different ways and learn from the people around us how to speak, but something that we can't always escape depending on our gender at birth, or sometimes that's not even true. You will also find cis women, or I should rather say AFAB people that can have some testosterone as well. And so that testosterone can affect people differently. You might, by the way, be AMAB, have testosterone, and still have very little amounts of testosterone affect your voice. It's a little bit random and it depends on genetics and other things. But let's talk about what testosterone does to the voice and why we hear it as such a changing component. First of all, testosterone will do one main thing. The testosterone will make the vocal tract much bigger, right? So the space will become a lot bigger, right? The second thing that happens is that the pitch becomes really low. So a low pitch means that the vocal folds get longer. Effectively having like a really big space and really low vibration of the vocal folds, a very slow vibration. The vocal folds are really long. And then the third thing that testosterone does to your voice is make the vocal fold mass increase. And so an increased vocal fold mass creates a more buzzy, more powerful sound. And that's what we have to keep in mind. Those three main things is what testosterone does to the voice when it affects our voice. And it can do different levels of, size change, of vocal folds vibration rate, or which we call pitch, by the way, or of vocal fold thickness, a really thin sound versus a really thick sound, right? And so that's all you need to know. And because, as you have heard it, I can do a mask voice. So that means that if you have been affected by testosterone, you can most definitely reverse those effects just by changing the behavior of your voice. Just like you can flex a muscle, you can also relax it. That's how you get your voice to be thinner. Just like you're able to bring your larynx up by swallowing or bringing your larynx down by yawning, you can also change how high or how low your larynx is. And just like you know how to say, I don't know, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, chi, do. If you know melody and music, you know how to modify pitch, right? Your voice is an instrument, and today I hope to teach you how to play it. All right, now that's the time done for our explanation. So now I'll ask two people to go up on stage. Well, not at once, sorry, but two people who want to feminize their voices. So I'm going to start first with someone who wants to feminize their voices, someone who preferably has not been on stage yet. So raise your hand or jump in place or put the hand emoji. All right, I've seen movement from several people. Okay, I'm gonna go for some fella here. I think you're the first one to move. All right, come up on stage. There's stairs over there. Applause for some fella.
Yippee!
Okay. All right. Hello, fella. Or shall I call you some? Or just fella some?
Just call me some fella.
All right. Sounds good, some fella. All right. So, welcome. We got 10 minutes starting now. All right. Welcome. This is your first workshop ever? Or have I already seen you before?
I've attended a few, but I've never gone on stage.
All right. Welcome. So, well then, what would you like to do today? Feminize your voice?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do that. Have you already watched some tutorials, seen some resources online on how to do it?
I've practiced on pushing my resonance up a bit.
Okay.
And evidently not doing it right now.
Okay. Would you feel comfortable showing us how far you've come? Or is that like too stressful and you would rather... Yeah? Okay, go for it.
I'm trying not to talk at the higher resonance. I did kind of rush pushing it up a bit, so I don't think it's as high as I can go. But
Okay, this is already pretty good. Nice. Okay.
this is... yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is good. Keep it up, keep it up. All right. How about we do some reading and check what we can do this. Oh, yes, I did say that I was going to talk about how we warm up the voice and we didn't have the time yet to do it. So I'll do it here with some fella. You can keep your mic muted and do it alongside fella. You ready to try this out?
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to start low at a low pitch on an O sound, like O. And you're going to try and do the same and go up like O. And then back down. O. Give it a try.
Okay.
Very good. Now, can you hold a Z sound like so? Like so. I got a lisp now. Like so. Yes. And now try this.
I don't think.
Okay. And from there, it's okay. And go. All right, very good. That's some of the vocal warm-up that you can be doing. All right, now that your voice is kind of warmed up, we can get started with some practice. So, let's see. I want to kind of see how you do with the voices you already worked on and kind of hear it on some sentences. Has the graph loaded up for you?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Okay, this is not working. Yes, okay, so now from here, can you go ahead and tune your voice up to a bright resonance? So say you try to say, ah, that mad brat sat on that flat mat.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Very good. Okay, how about the next one? Ah, the crowbar
opened the subpar car.
Okay, now you've done the crowbar opened a subpar car. So you have dropped the resonance a little bit as you were going, and you were also changing the pitch. Try it again, but stay monotonous. You know, like fembot, robot, beep boop, the crowbar opened the subpar car. Give that a try.
Okay. The crowbar opened the subpar car.
Very solid. Careful there, you might have heard it too. You kind of did this, the crowbar opened the subpar. Your onset was like a little bit dark. So try it again on the.
The crowbar opened the subpar car.
Very good. Can I hear the next one? The store doors creaked more on the fourth floor.
The store doors creaked more on the fourth floor.
Very good. You're killing it. Next one. The new you is no taboo. You grew, it's true.
The new you is no taboo. You grew, it's true.
All right. Can I hear again the new you?
The new you is no taboo. You grew, it's true.
Okay. There again, you had this little bit of an issue. The new you. The new you. Try it again.
The new you is no taboo.
Okay, very good. So a lot of these sentences start with the, that, the mostly. And I feel like it's not so much an issue of resonance that you have, but more so like an issue of like you use your voice and then you let it relax, like you go to wherever you go, right? And so when you start your voice, you kind of don't really set yourself up right there. So often you will do this, the new you is no taboo. You kind of like take the time to jump up there. So yeah, just like be mindful that you really first set up your voice before you speak. It's a bit hard perhaps since maybe you have just gotten started, but you kind of like want to build that behavior, that memory, that muscle memory, right? You remember what it feels like to have that resonance pushed up, as you said, right? To have like this really small size. The new you is no taboo, right? You can kind of think of that position before going there, right? The same way that like if I ask you to say it in a mask voice right off the bat, can you do like
The new you.
for example?
The new you.
Yeah, and then try it again, but think of how it was to be
The new
right?
you.
Okay, very close. Yes, very good. And now try again.
The new you.
The new you.
The new you. The new you.
Wow, that was really good. Yeah, you really jumped right there. That was really precise. Good job. Okay, very good, very good. So far, I think you have a really femme voice. You have this really bright sound, a really small size. You're doing well at those high pitches. But there's that one issue where sometimes you kind of like start, the new you is no taboo, right? Where you kind of like start a little bit darker, but kind of bounce back and forth a little bit and you kind of get it no problem. Now, the other issue that might have guessed comes from the pitch, right? And so I don't think your pitch is too low, but I think that when I hear the pitch drop, you kind of do this. The crowbar opened the subpar car. You kind of like let your voice trail down, well, your resonance trail down as the pitch trails down. So you'd want to make it so that when you go low in pitch, you don't have the resonance go down as well. Take a look. Imagine this hand is the resonance and this hand is the pitch, right? The store doors creak more on the... Sorry, bad. The store doors creak
More on the fourth floor.
both of them are going down, right? But what if I do this? The store doors creak more on the fourth floor. The resonance stays the same, the space stays really small, right? But the resonance can go down. And this is pretty hard to do first, but you want to learn how to dissociate pitch from resonance, the pitch from the vocal tract size. So you might perhaps want to practice your femme voice at lower pitches, or perhaps practice pitches like trying and practice keeping the resonance bright as you speak. For example, if you do the following, say you read that mad brat sat on that flat mat, but on a whisper. It should sound something like, that mad brat sat on that flat mat. That's right, exactly. Right, exactly. Now, try to make it consistently go dark. That mad brat sat on that flat mat. Try this out. Very good. That mad brat sat on that flat mat. So you kind of stayed at the same brightness around here, and then you went down in resonance, right? So you kind of can feel that darkness start to go down. So that's exactly that feeling that you want to pay attention to whenever you're speaking, to make sure that you're not that mad brat sat on that flat mat. That you don't let your resonance drop down, okay? you want to try it again? Trying to say it like that mad brat sat on that flat mat.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat. Did I do it right?
Okay, so you started here. That mad brat sat on that flat mat. So I think you went down to like an A2. So here is another issue: is you actually started in a feminine range, but you went so low in pitch that it triggered several things. It triggered that kind of buzzy sound, right? That mad brat sat on that flat mat. And that is because with the masculine voice that you generally use outside of practice, I don't know, like,
let's say like a voice like this, you might use some vocal folds mass. And if you bring your voice to be brighter and higher pitch, and keep like the same vocal fold mass up there, and make the space smaller,
then you're going to end up having a pretty buzzy sound, right? And that's because when you use a more masculine sound, you tend to use more vocal fold mass, as it encourages the use of lower pitches, of lower vibrations of the vocal folds, right? A lower rate of vibration of the vocal folds. And so you'd want to like keep your voice really soft as you go down in pitch. So that mad brat sat on that flat mat. Okay? Do you want to give that a try?
Okay. That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
That was really good. Careful in the very last pitches. That mad brat sat on that flat mat. That was maybe like a little bit low for a feminine voice in terms of pitch range. So typically, I would say like you were doing this. That mad brat sat on that flat. You were like around D sharp 3, around that, and then you did that flat mat down to A sharp 2. So you're dipping in the second octave, and generally that can be hard to feminize. And most feminine voices don't really portray such low pitches. So that's something a bit more tricky to work. But yeah, other than that, that's really solid. Honestly, you're on like a really good path to feminizing your voice. You already have made great progress with that. Just be aware of the things that I talked to you about, namely, try to not let your resonance drop down as you change the pitch. Changing the pitch is kind of bringing you back into a kind of more natural behavior of speaking. And so you have to be careful that that natural behavior that your brain has learned as a masculine voice doesn't trick your voice to go down back to like a more like
voice that you like more, like more often use.
You know, like kind of like this gravity of behavior, you're being pulled back to the voice that you used prior to voice training. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Also, I also recommend that you work with like some pitch tracking software so that you can kind of like tell what your pitch is. Is that something that you already do on your own, or?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
I just didn't
Also-
have it in front of me this very moment. So
It's okay. You're like in VR. It's probably not helpful. Or I don't know if you're on desktop, whatever. But yeah, congrats to some fella. You did really well. Applause. All right. Thank you, some fella. All right. So now, we'll be taking someone up on stage who has not been on stage before, preferably. If not, it's okay. And who will be working on masculinizing their voices. Who is interested? Raise your hand if you're interested in masculinizing your voice. Okay, Ray Sailor. I don't believe I've seen you before. Come on stage. Come on. Applause.
Hello.
Hello.
I have been here a little bit before, but there's not really as many masculine, like, people working to masculinize their voice compared to, like, everyone who's trying to feminize it.
That's kind of true. All right. So we got 10 minutes starting from now. Let's go. All right. So hi, Ray. Welcome again. I don't know if you have been on stage with me or with another teacher, but maybe
I've
those
been
wings tell me something.
with you. Yeah, I've been with
Okay.
like, you before. Same avatar every time.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So how has your voice been coming along since last time we met?
I don't get that much, like, time to practice, but I am trying to work on, kind of making sure I can shift it, like, pretty quickly down to a lower, like, voice. I mean,
Would
it
you
is
say-
kind of hard to do, but
Okay. Would you say that you like kind of like stay to like a more like idle higher voice, and you only like go for like a more masculine voice whenever like you can't like whenever like you're practicing and doing it on purpose, or do you kind of like try to bring your voice together as time goes and as you think about it?
I mean, it's mostly when I think about it that I really try and bring it down lower, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's like when you're in a situation where you kind of have to shift it a bit, like towards whatever voice people like expect you to use, because yeah. Sorry, I'm a
Alright.
bit nervous, but also really excited to be able to work up here.
You're fine. You're fine. All right. So let's do some warm up really quick with your voice so we can like kind of see where your voice can go. All right. So let's start from the highest pitch and go to the lowest comfortable pitch. Ooh. Give it a try.
Oh. Oh wait, do you want me to keep like doing it
No,
as
it's
long
okay.
as
It's
I
okay.
can?
And let's go back up. Sorry, I was muted. I was muted. And oh.
Oh.
And back down again. Oh.
Oh.
Okay. Now let's try and do this on a Z sound. Zzz, or zzz. Okay, good. And from there, can you do
Zo.
Okay, and from there, try to do oh, 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 oh.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, already like a bit thicker. Good. Nice. And okay, that's good for the pitch warm up. Oh, so we're hanging around like an E3, D sharp 3 at times, I've heard. Okay, pretty good. Now, what we want to do is do a little bit of resonance work. Remember what we do? We take a bit of a whisper sound, and let's say pat that cat on a whisper like this. Pat that cat. Let's start right.
Pat that cat.
And now, just take the pat, pat,
as dark as you can go.
Pat. It feels so weird to whisper it. I'm sorry.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's so weird
it's
about
different
it?
than like, I don't know, it's just different because you're used to normally just saying it like pat that cat, just saying it normally, like whispering. It's like really weird. I don't know, because I'm not
Most
used to
people just
whispering all the
don't say
time.
whispering. Don't you ever whisper like when it's late at night? You're like, hey, I'm just going to the bathroom real quick. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like when you don't want to wake up people, you know? Or
Yeah,
like,
I do normally.
if you,
I can whisper,
Oh.
but it's definitely
you
really
add the
weird.
voice. You like do more of a breathy sound than like you when you're like adding the voice with the whisper, then you get like a breathy sound. It's the right middle ground between whisper, full voice, whisper, full voice. This is like a breathy sound, right? So what you're experiencing is very different, I suppose, since you never really do a true whisper. Okay, cool. Now let's try this again some more. Pat, pat,
Pat, and then try to say, pat that cat.
Pat, pat that cat.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Pat that cat.
careful there towards the end. I heard that you're like kind
Yeah.
of stressing a bit. It was like, pat that cat, like kind of like getting screamy, you know? Oh, pat that cat, you know? All right, good. And from there, what we want to do is bridge back into a full voice, into a balanced voice, right? So we're going to actually use the breathy sound that you showed us before to bridge properly from the pat into, so pat, 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 right? Pat. Give that a try.
Wait, with the like darker whisper.
With the darker pat.
or-
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
So
Just
first,
making
you can
sure.
set your step 1. Bring your pat really dark. Step 2, test it a little bit. Pat that cat. Pat. Step 3, you can take a breath. Maybe you have run out of air at that point. Pat that cat. And then try and use your voice.
Pat. 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 Pat that cat. Am I doing it right?
Okay. Did you do it? Okay, listen closely how
Yeah.
you did it. Pat. See what happened with your voice there? You started really dark. Pat, pat, pat. Pat, pat that cat. You kind of during the bridge brought the resonance back up, right? So you want to keep it just as dark as the dark whisper. You actually were doing step 1 whisper, step 2 breathy really well, and from breathy to full voice you did you kind of like brought it brighter again, right? So you really want to stay stable down there. Do you want to give it another try?
Yeah, I guess the transition between them is kind of difficult.
It takes a bit of trial and error, so don't worry, it's normal. So, give it a try.
Pat.
Okay, try it again. I'm not sure I heard this right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Kind of. Guess it's just getting to the
It's okay.
last step.
It's okay.
Let me try again.
Mhm.
Pat.
Okay, this was interesting because you did really quickly this thing. Pat. You brought the resonance up on the voiced sound. So, okay, this is better because we did dark whisper into dark breathy sound into dark voiced sound. Pa. And then you as you kept the as you got that sound right, the more you kept it, the brighter it was getting, right? So it's a matter of, I think your voice is just really trying to go back to the behavior that it already knows. It's the gravity of behavior, except that this one doesn't pull you down, it kind of pulls you up to a brighter resonance. So I suppose maybe we can try and hear for this in a whisper. You probably hear it in my voice when I'm doing like the full voiced version. Right, or if we take this as like the size of the vocal tract, where you go brighter, right? Then you could also try and hear it in the whisper. See? It's maybe a bit easier to hear it in the whisper than it is to hear it in a full voice because, you know, you don't have the layer of the vocal folds vibrating in the way, right? When you hear your voice at all times, you basically hear the mixture of like the whisper and of the vocal folds vibrating. The whisper is telling you how dark or how bright you are, and the pitch is telling you how high or how low in pitch you are. So let's try the following. I want you to go back to that dark pat sound. Pat, 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 pat.
Pat, 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 Wait.
Just stay on the whisper for now.
Yeah, I kind of gave up on
Take
the
your
whisper
time.
on the last part. Whoops.
It's alright, sorry. Pat.
Pat. Pat.
Pat. Pat. Pat.
Good. And now I want you to try and jump back and forth between the really dark pat and the really bright pat. So kind of like
Pat.
pat,
Pat.
pat. Give it a try.
Pat. 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 Pat.
Okay, good. And so now, starting from nothing, try to just go for the dark pat.
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 Yes, very good. Okay, cool. So now you kind of have like a better muscle memory of it. You can set up right to it. I mean, you did this without doing the whole pat, 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 pat. It's much better than having to scale it down every time, right? Let's try it again.
Pat.
Pat.
Nice. And now that you know how to do this, can you say, and
Pat that cat.
Pat that cat.
okay, that was really interesting. You did,
Pat that cat.
so you kind of like was moving on that brighter and you went back to cat dark again. Maybe you heard it. Maybe that sound triggered you to go back up to brighter sound. Who knows? But what you want to do is definitely try and practice using that dark whisper more often to kind of like get a better feeling and directly hear if your voice goes, if it modulates in resonance, so that when you can do a full whisper on a dark sound, you know that you're efficiently staying down there. It's not an issue of you can't get through there. It's more so like you can get there, but your behavior or like your behavior or like what you're used to kind of brings you back up to that brighter sound. Try this out on the sentence on the board. Just on the whisper,
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
give it a try.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Very good. And now do it in like a normal whisper, or not normal, sorry, but like in a bright whisper. That mad brats.
That mad brat sat on that
And-
flat mat.
And
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
yes, very good. There you go. Okay. And you get like that behavior down more. You get that by ear. You can hear it. That mad brat.
That mad brat.
And then you also want to link the sound to the feeling that you get in your throat or neck or whatever when your Adam's apple is lower. You might not have a prominent one, but we all have a larynx. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to speak. So yeah, just keep that up and work on your bridge. Be careful. The more you repeat it, the better we're getting. You started from pat. You went to pat, where you went brighter on the full voice sound, right? So just keep trying at it, and I'm sure you'll be able to crack the code. All right.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Good luck with practice. Thank you for being up on stage. Applause for Ray Sailors. All right. So now this time I'll be having someone up on stage who wants to feminize their voices. I have seen you raise your hand quite a lot, Zero. You've not been on stage before, have you?
No, this is actually on the first lesson I attend.
All right. Move up on stage. Applause for Zero. All right. We have got 10 minutes starting from now.
Nope.
Let's go.
Nope, that's actually the first time I've ever been in a lesson of you. It's really an honor.
Welcome. The honor is all mine. All right, so welcome to this lesson, Zero. You've already done some work on your own. you know, kind of like the methods online? Are you starting from nothing, or do you know already a little bit?
I already know a bit. I've also practiced a bit myself. And my throat starts to hurt.
Oh no, does it hurt often, easily,
No,
or is it?
It's just that I've been practicing a lot recently, especially since my boyfriend came over.
Okay, good. So you have been practicing a lot. When did you start working on your voice?
I would guess maybe a few weeks ago. I don't know.
Oh, wow, a few weeks ago. What was your starting voice, if I may ask?
My starting voice sounds like this.
Okay, so like around here, but like you're not like super low either. Like you're kind of
That's not what.
yeah, like your
No,
voice.
I'm not.
You kind of like started like soft boy voice, kind of. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So I already hear a lot of feminization in your voice. Now, two things that I worry about is that you said yourself that your voice kind of feels sore or like maybe fatigued, but you also say that you have been using your voice a lot and it's only been a few weeks, so perhaps you're maybe still figuring out the muscles, still figuring out how to use the voice, so don't stress too much about it. How long do you speak a day, or how long do you speak before you start to feel like your voice gets sore? 0.
Well, regarding that, it's really different actually. Sometimes I speak more, sometimes I speak less. And yeah, it can also vary from the times where like I only have to speak a short amount of time till my throat starts to itch a bit, and then there are times I can speak like for 10 hours with that voice.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Only a few weeks. Okay, you're doing really well. Let's see. Perhaps you notice there are some triggers that cause you to have your voice be more difficult to use. Maybe you feel like when you're more emotional, or perhaps if you're using really high pitches, that might trigger your voice to like hurt more or not so much. Glug. Oh yeah, good idea. I'll have one myself too. Yes, okay.
That
Basically,
really fixes the problems.
all right. Another thing I didn't say is you want to drink water before your voice starts to hurt. I know it's not a given, or like some people, you know, think it's like a magical miracle thing. It's important to drink water whenever, right? Even if your voice is starting to hurt, right? But just know that when I did just that, all of the water was going to my stomach. And as we all know, you know, the stomach is not the lungs. And so the thing is that when I drink water or when I eat food, the vocal folds are actually covered by the epiglottis and sometimes the false vocal folds as well, actually most of the time. But what you want to know is that if you drink water, it's not going to directly touch the vocal folds and hydrate them. The hydration will happen from the blood flow giving the vocal folds the nutrients and the water. So give at least 15 minutes before you do voice work in the day. That might help you with your vocal stamina as well. If you wake up, drink water first things first. And then you may start to drink water, then you may start to use your voice once you have the hydration happen. You're going to ask a question?
Yeah, regarding that.
Go ahead.
I usually drink a lot, and I still face these problems in my normal day.
Okay, good.
Is there anything I can do against that?
What, drinking a lot, as in like alcohol or water?
No, I'm boring. I mostly just drink water.
Oh, no, I'm just making sure because when people say they drink, I never know. So I'm just making sure. Yeah, no. If you drink a lot, cool. Do you incorporate some vocal warm-ups, some vocal function exercises in your routine? You know, like I showed with, when you wake up before using your voice, or you should try and do it every day.
Before. It's just I do these warm-ups before I want to use the voice because I can't use it because my parents are strictly against me taking hormones and stuff.
Okay, sorry to hear that. But okay, well, within the limits, I do recommend that you try to drink water first things in the morning, then do some gentle humming or some gentle gentle vocal warm-ups to get your vocal folds going. Okay, get your vocal folds prepped for the day, and then you can start and use your fem voice whenever it's safe to do so, of course. Yeah. What I notice as well in your voice is that there is some times where your voice maybe dips to a more, not masculine tone, I would rather say like a more androgynous tone. But I feel like that's more due to the fact that like you're still figuring things out. Like, I don't know, do you hear it when your voice goes a little bit, dips a little bit? Or is it more like it happens and I'm like, oh, now, damn, it happened and I couldn't do anything about it? Or do you not notice it too much?
I, of course, know as well, and I don't mind actually.
Okay, good.
I mean, I just want to.
It's just because.
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
The delay sucks. It's okay, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, in my case, I just want to like get better control over my voice in general. And
okay.
I also found more feminine because when I start taking hormones, it would be weird if I go with like a boy voice as well.
I mean, whatever, there's trans girls out there who have a really masculine voice, and that's okay too, you know? It's whatever is important to you that matters, okay?
Yep.
Cool, awesome. So far I'm hearing a lot of good things about your voice, so let's try and do some readings. I think that I want to kind of go ahead and have you read through those sentences. Please do go ahead and start at the first sentence.
Okay. That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Okay, careful there. Very good. That mad brat sat on that flat mat. It just went a little bit low compared to the rest. Well, see, right there you just said mat, but like, because it wasn't in the context of the sentence, you did it right. It's because the context of the sentence has you go, that mad brat sat on that flat mat. Kind of like go down in pitch, right? So as you go down in pitch, you want to be careful because the lower the pitch is going to get, the harder it will be to keep your resonance bright, okay? So you really want to be vigilant towards the end of the sentence. That mad brat sat on that. Oh, I'm starting to get to really low pitches. I want to be careful. That flat mat. Okay? Give that a try.
All right. That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Very good.
Better?
Okay. That was very good. Try to do the next one.
The crowbar opened the subpar car.
Okay. The crowbar opened the subpar car. Like, you kind of ended up on this pitch. The subpar car. So, like, to me, like, that's fine. Like, you did not do, I said did not, you did not do subpar car. So your resonance stayed bright. Subpar car. I would say do be careful because that pitch can either be subpar car. Can be that or it can be subpar car. See what I mean? Like it can really change the voice. Car. 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 Yes.
Yeah, one other problem that I could have is my native language is German and not English. That could maybe also influence it a bit.
Ah ja, dann sprechen einfach Deutsch, ja?
Warte, die können Deutsch reden?
Ja, ein ganz bisschen. But for the sake of everyone here, let's keep it to English. Okay, cool. So it shouldn't be too difficult. I think there's like that one sound in German, I think the Ü sound, like üben, or like, yeah, like that's the only word I can think of right off the bat because my German is not really good. But like in English, you might see you have a, o, u, o, thus, e. But in German, you have an extra sound, the Ü sound, and that's a sound that maybe you haven't been able to work if you're using mostly English resources out there. So be sure to work also on the Ü sounds. I haven't made any sentences here that can have you work on the Ü sound, but just know that that sound could be a bit difficult to practice. Okay. So yeah, just keep in mind to practice the Ü sound if you are to use your fem voice in German. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Let's keep going. I want to hear you say that sentence here. To me, you is no taboo. You grew. It's true.
Okay. The new you is no taboo. You grew. It's true.
Very good. The new you is no taboo. You grew. It's true. So careful on the you there. That was a bit dark. Try it again.
You. Okay. The new you is no taboo. You grew, it's true.
Okay, very good. Nice. Awesome. Very good. Very good. How about you read that one? Thus, acting sus, they made a fuss in the bus.
Okay. And thus acting sus, they made a fuss in the bus.
Very good. Okay. Now let's try and say that first sentence again. That man rats out on the felt mat. But let's try and create an intonation that's maybe a little bit more melodic. I want to see how far we can push your voice. Listen closely to how I do it and try to mimic it to the best of your abilities.
Okay.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Okay, that mad brat sat on that flat mat. Try to bring it up. That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Careful there. That mad brat sat on that flat mat. Woo! It's okay. It's like you're trying to ask a really long question, like la 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 la.
Yeah.
That mad rat sat on that flat mat. Give it another try.
Yeah. That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Very
Oh my
good.
goodness.
Nice. You're good. And from there, let's try and really be more melodic here. That mad brat. Just do that part.
Okay.
That mad brat.
That mad brat.
Very good. That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
That mad brat sat on that flat mat.
Okay, very good. The mad brat sat on that. Careful on that flat mat. Keep it bright.
On that flat mat. Okay.
Very good. Okay, awesome. Yeah, very good. Okay, our time is up, I'm afraid, but you have done really well. I'm really surprised to see what you have been able to do in such a short time. To be fair, as you have shown me, like your starting voice, like being like kind of like down there and like not all the way down here, you know, it kind of gives me hope to see like that you probably will be able to push your voice further. Who knows? Even brighter to a greater extent. Perhaps you will not stop at that mad brat. You might go to that mad brat sat on that flat mat. And I don't know what you do with your voice. Go with it to wherever you want. I would recommend that. I think you're at the point where like it's a lot of polishing, of stabilizing your voice, you know, getting things right and sorted out. Yeah, mostly do watch out for whenever your pitch goes to lower pitches. That's one of the issues that that mad rat sat on that flat mat, where like your voice can go a bit darker. I'm exaggerating here, but that's for demonstration purposes. And yeah, otherwise you're doing really well. Keep it up. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Try to look for perhaps like a goal voice that you would like to mimic. You know, like I think you're at a point where you can like start and look at different voices to kind of like find a thing that really resonates with you. And yeah, best of luck with the rest, Zero.
Okay. You know, for me, it's just basically easier to mimic voice lines from characters from video games that I like. So yeah, I could practice with that.
That's perfect. Go for that. All right. Applause for Zero. Okay. All right. And now I'll have one last more person who wants to work on masculinizing their voices. Hopefully someone who has not been on stage, but as it was stated before, I believe there is not that many people who want to work on masculinizing their voices. Okay. So I suppose someone who already has been on stage but wants to work on making their voice more mask. Anyone who wants to move up on stage? No, not really. I don't see anyone. Okay, I guess we'll do Fem Extra rounds. Okay, who wants to work? Okay, Zoe-chan, you raise your hand first. You were quickest. Please move up on stage. Come on. I'm doing like an idle pose, waiting. Yeah, applause for Zoe Chan! Yay! Welcome, Zoe. You might be muted. Who knows? Is you there, Zoe? Are you doing all right? Just setting up your mic?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Ah, yes. Hello. Welcome. Okay.
Hi.
So we are a little bit late on schedule, so I'll only have 8 minutes. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, let's get started now. So, welcome, Zoe. What is it
Hi.
that you come here up on stage for today?
I would like to perfect my voice a bit more because sometimes I feel like I dip down, but I'm not really sure. It's more like when I get comfy around friends or so, I feel like my voice gets down, but people say no, it's not. But I don't know.
So, of course, as you can guess, here you're up on stage, you're like in this performative thing, like you're in front of an audience. So, chances are you might not get as comfortable as you will get with friends, unless I make you feel somewhat comfortable. But I don't know, I'm kind of weird, I got like those bunny ears, I'm kind of like queer and stuff, like I do these like really weird things with my voice. So I don't know if we'll be able to hear that voice drop. So far from what you have been saying, I haven't heard your voice drop all too much. So yeah, how about we try and go over some text and see how your voice goes from there? Does that sound good?
Okay. Sounds nice.
All right. Please go ahead and read that very first sentence for me.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Okay. Hello, good morning. How are you? Okay, sounds pretty natural to me. I didn't hear any drop per se. How about the next one?
I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
All right. So here I maybe heard, and I'm being nitpicky here. I'll have a cup of coffee, please. The have maybe was darker than the rest of the sentence. Can you try and make the have brighter? Have. Give it a try.
I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
Okay. I'll have a cup of coffee, please. All right. Very good. Can I hear it once more?
I'll have a cup of coffee, please.
Okay. Very good. How about the next sentence here?
I forgot to take my hormones.
Ah, so annoying. I know that feeling. Next sentence.
Are you really sure about that?
Yeah, pretty sure. How about the next one?
I think I have a craving for pickles.
Okay, very good. Maybe here there was like a little bit of a dip. I think I have a craving for pickles. Let's try to say, I think I have a craving for pickles.
I think I have a craving for pickles.
All right. This again, you did. I think I have a craving for pickles. You did that. I think I have a craving for pickles. And so here, I feel like you're substituting a dark sound for a really high-pitched sound. So this is maybe a bit bothersome. Why? Because I kind of want you to be able to use lower pitches in your fem voice. By the way, I do need to ask first and foremost, do you intend on getting like a more high-pitched fem voice, lower-pitched fem voice, or kind of like somewhere in between? Like kind of what's your want for the fem voice that you are targeting?
Personally, I would like to be able to switch to a deeper voice, but also I would like to be able to get to a higher voice.
Okay, so you pretty much said you want to cover your entire range. So the more so important that we work on those lower pitches. Now, I'm going to try something else with you here. I want you to try and match my pitch, right? Match my pitch here. Ah. Okay, so I was here. And you were here. So we are higher pitch. So I'm here. Try to go. Ah. Try it out.
Oh.
Oh, you went a little bit too low. Ah. And you actually went darker too. Let's see. How about you do the following? Pat that cat. Pat that cat. Pat that cat. Pat that cat. Give it a try.
Pat that cat. Pat that cat. Pat that cat. Pat that cat. Pat that cat.
Okay. Let's see.
What was that pitch? Pat that cat. Pat that cat.
Okay, so that was really interesting. That was a C#3, and according to most feminine voices, C#3 is around there, and it generally dips into a pretty masculine range.
Pat that cat.
But I also wanted to say that you can use lower pitches in a femme voice. That pat that cat there,
Pat that cat.
that's what it sounds like in the C#3 up here, right? Or down here, I should say, with a really big vocal tract.
Pat that cat.
But you could make that brighter.
Pat, pat,
Pat, pat, pat, pat, pat that cat. Thus creating just a like low femme voice. Pat that cat, right? Being definitely usable in your femme voice. But as you might have noticed, when you went lower and lower and lower in pitch, you made your resonance or your vocal tract size bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And that's what I want us to work on. So we might want to be on the same page in terms of pitch. I know you're not exactly matching my pitch, but that's okay. Okay, give me a pitch here, any pitch you want, and say pat that cat monotonously.
Pat that cat.
Okay, pat that cat. Very good. Now, try it here. Pat that cat.
Pat that cat.
Pat that cat. Okay, so far we are on G#3. Let's keep going down. Pat that cat.
Pat that cat.
That was really interesting. You did pat that cat. So you went no, this is interesting because you went bright,
Dark.
and pat that cat. You did it bright anyways on the way up. So that's interesting. So around F#3, you kind of have this like sound that can be either or as in pat that cat, like you did it right in the femme way. But just the way that you brought down the pitch really kind of went really big, right? So that's something that you want to be careful with here. Okay, now you have done this so far, and pat that cat. I want you to start again from that last one and then go down still. Pat that cat. Pat that cat. Give it a try.
Pat that cat.
Okay, wait. Pat that cat. Okay, so you were on the same one that you did before. Keep that. Pat that cat. And from there, pat that cat.
Pat that cat. Pat that cat.
You're on the same one again. Pat that cat from there. Pat that cat.
Pat that cat.
Okay, and now that's more tricky, right? Pat that cat. You kind of have still a feminine voice, but like a yawning quality, like if you were yawning, you know? Pat that cat, right? And so that is only an E3. So that's kind of like a pitch that in your case is really in the middle. Like that's a very androgynous sound. Pat that cat. You know, like I wouldn't generate masculine, I wouldn't generate feminine. Pat that cat. If you made it feminine, pat that cat. But you would also have made it.
Pat that cat.
Right? So you want to be careful with that here. Okay, so what I want you to do here is you kind of struggle to match my pitch right off the bat every time, and sometimes you're not matching your own pitch too. So I really recommend that you work with a pitch tracker. Have you ever done that before? Like work with a thing that tells you what your pitch is at, or not so much?
I've had some open on my browser yet, yes, but
Okay,
not
so
regularly.
Okay, so I recommend that you make it a more regular practice and that you start working on pitches. And you can look at the keyboard here. Start to work on pitches from F sharp 3, so that's the black key here, right above F. So it kind of like goes, it kind of goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And whilst those are like musical theory notes, I find it easier to say C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C rather than saying
130 hertz, 140 hertz, 145, 46 hertz,
right? So it's easier to like use those. And generally, your voice was really solid in all of that range, right? So like what you speak in is that range here. And so if you are getting to speak with friends online, you might get more comfortable and, maybe you're like, we're really chip at the start of the call, and then as the call goes longer and longer and you're kind of like getting bored and like more and more tired, you might go to like a lower voice, and that's more than okay. But as we have heard in your case, when you start to get around the pitch F3 and below, it's like this area, it starts to become you kind of start to go back to a lean of a darker sound, right? So that's where I would definitely look into. Try to really work on making those sounds really bright, right? Like if you get like on E3, so E3, if you get like, pat that cat, make sure to practice that and brighten it. Pat, 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 pat that cat. So that you can add more low pitches in your range to your vocal arsenal. Okay? All right, that's some general advice. Very solid femme voice overall. Just be careful with the lower pitches. Don't ban the low pitches of your voice. I think they're really useful in a lot of circumstances. You might want to use them to express different emotions, or just in general, as you said, to have both a really high-pitched femme voice and a really low-pitched femme voice, depending on whatever you want to do with your voice. Okay? Good job so far. Keep it up. Watch out for the pitch and the resonance that comes with lower pitch, and you should be more than fine. Have a good one, Zoe. Thank you, Zoe. Applause for Zoe. All right. Let's not keep our beloved staff any longer on this. So, Alistair, do we have any questions on the Twitch, or are we good?
There are no Twitch questions that I can see, but there's one Discord question.
Okay, let's hear it.
Question, is your mouth supposed to be a different shape as you're trying to get to higher, I'm assuming she means pitch ranges? I feel like my face looks silly as I'm trying to get up there, or am I doing it wrong and it shouldn't affect how your mouth looks?
It shouldn't specifically affect how your mouth looks. It depends. If you're trying to go to really high pitches that can be very difficult, then your mouth might look a little bit silly because you're really trying here to maximize, or rather minimize, a lot of the mouth space to get a really, really, really bright resonance to match a really high pitch. But in most general cases, no, you're not really going to want to have your mouth change, right? Imagine if you tie your femme voice to having your mouth really small, and that comes with getting the lips to kind of spread, kind of like in a smile. Not a smile, because like the smile would have like the corners of the lips up, so like just like a kind of flat smile. But if you were to do this, imagine like you go to a funeral, not a super fun topic, and you're like, I'm so sorry for your loss, and like you are having like the biggest smile because you learned how to feminize your voice with a smile, that's not gonna fly it too well, is it? So yeah, generally no, your mouth shouldn't change too much. In the context of singing, it might be different. Maybe have looked at how singers sing, and it gets a very visual on their faces as well in some cases when the vocals are really challenging to produce. So unless you're doing like a very challenging voice, your face should not specifically, or your face shouldn't specifically, or your lips shouldn't specifically change shape. You would rather want to rely more specifically, you would want to more rely on the pharyngeal size, on, raising the larynx up and not specifically rely on, having like your lips spread or having like a really small mouth, because you don't want to mess with the vowels, because the vowels are going to change with how your lips and how your tongue is positioned. And you have to say a, e, I, o, u, vowel sounds that very drastically alter the shape, position of your lips. Okay? So that's something that you want to be watching out for. All right, hope that answers your question. Any more questions? No more?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. All right, perfect. So I know that sometimes I do answer questions from the audience, but it is pretty late here and I do have to go. So I'll do the blurble, the end of the workshop blurble. So thank you everyone so far for coming to this workshop. My name is Savvy. I teach voice feminization as well as
Voice masculinization.
I also teach stuff such as human beatboxing with sounds such as. If you want to learn any of this, you can always shoot me a message on Discord at savvy_sav. I teach lessons over there, so you can just like send me a message like, hey, I want to do a private or a public lessons. I also do public lessons on my Discord server at discord.gg/small dbwr you can join me there, and my community is called Scientifically Augmented Voice, so you can join there to listen into extra lessons if you're interested. Or get some help from it's not really mine, but it's a really nice community where people can help you with voice questions and so much and so forth and so on. Of course, there's the hashtag voice training channel on the Trans Academy, so you're more than welcome to ask the questions on the Discord over there as well. And again, thank you for being here. This was Savvy, signing out. Bye-bye!
Thank you, Savvy!
Bye Twitch and bye everyone. Woo!
It's been nice listening to you.
Very nice. Pew pew pew.